I'm glad to be here this evening. Sorry I'm a couple of minutes late, just some technical issues. For any of you that have joined me before on any of these Facebook Lives, you will know that it's pretty much a one-man band. I'm pushing all the buttons, but the information I'm sharing is well worth listening to. So thank you for joining me. It is just after 6 o'clock. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. Love to hear where you are and where you're watching from, and just give me some support. I get really nervous doing these things, so I'd love to hear from you. Drop any questions or how can I say, any questions or support in the comment section. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Robyn Vogels. I'm the owner of Personnel Relocations. We help families to find and secure a rental home in Australia prior to their arrival. So it saves money on Airbnb costs or hotel costs, and going directly into your own home is always a lot more comfortable. I'm also the co-author of the book Your DIY Move Guide to Australia, which is available on Amazon. It's $25 and it will literally save you thousands. It tells you how to compare removals quotes, how to choose a school, how to choose a suburb, all sorts of things. So besides all the blogs that I write, the articles that I write for news, the information I share on the webinars and on my YouTube channel, it's a good source of information. My goal is to try and help as many people as possible, if not through personal relocations, but through the free resources that I provide. So please do look at them, read them, digest them. It's expert information. It's much easier than asking on social media where you might get 10,000 opinions or knee-jerk reactions to the questions. So thank you again for joining us. If you've got any questions, do put them in the comments, or even just some support for me so that I know that there's somebody out there listening to me and I'm not sitting here all by myself. As always, I've got something to give away at the end, so I will do that for those that are brave enough to sit and listen to me for the next probably 20-30 minutes, depending on how nervous I get, because the more nervous I get, the quicker I talk. So today I'm talking about the rental crisis in Australia. I'm prompted to do this for a few reasons. I know here at Personal Relocations we have a really good relationship with the estate agents. So I haven't been feeling it. I mean, I've been in this business for 14 years and I haven't felt it as much as we are this week. And I'm very concerned for those people that are coming across to Australia and maybe are unaware. I'm not a person to sensationalize anything. I'm not a person to try and sell you anything. That's not what this is about. I'm just trying to warn people, tell you what's real, tell you what I'm actually seeing out on the ground, myself and my consultants around Australia, so that you understand and can be prepared. Nobody likes bad surprises, let's say. So tonight is really to talk about what is actually happening in Australia with the rental crisis. And I say that, you know, in the 14 years I've been in this business, it's always been a rental shortage. There's always been a rental shortage. That's nothing new. But it's now gone up a whole new level. Okay, so this is really just about a bit of a wake-up call. I have so many people who think that renting wherever they live at the moment is going to be the same when they arrive in Australia, and it's not. It's very different in Australia. So I just really want to prepare you tonight and help as many people as possible to make the right start. So like I said, if you've got any comments or questions, please put them in the comments section. I'm here to help. You know, this is the time. I'm online, I'm live. Let's ask some questions. So as I said just now, the rental shortage has escalated to a rental crisis. And if you've just joined, then this is what I'll be chatting about today. Before I jump into that, I just want to talk to you quickly about a new service that we've got, and that is we have the Inspect for You service, which a lot of clients really enjoy, but the Inspect for You service is aimed at those people who are looking for a rental property before they arrive. because they don't want to spend $5, $7, $10,000 on accommodation for a month while they're looking for a new home. So the Inspect for You service is that. But we have a lot of people who arrive and perhaps are living with family and friends, and they still want our support to know how to complete an application, a rental application, or understand how the rental process works. So we've got this new service, and just 2 seconds on that. It's called the virtual relocation. So if you're interested in that, if you have family and friends to live with when you come to Australia while you're looking for a rental yourself, then the virtual program might be a really good option for you. Included in that is a 1-hour consultation with me, so we can discuss suburbs, commute times, schooling, anything that you need to talk about that you're unsure about. I can go through the rental process with you. We also give you information on how to complete your rental application. And there's other things included. There's a checklist for what you need to do at open for inspections, what to expect at key collection, tips on how to shortlist homes online, because for those of you who have read my blogs, you'll know, especially the blog about false advertising on the real estate adverts. So if you haven't read that blog, I sincerely hope that you go and read that one, because it's also a bit of a wake-up call. So for those of you that don't need us to inspect homes on your behalf, have a look into our virtual relocation. So we've got a few people online, so that's great. I'm going to go back into the rental crisis and talk to you a little bit about what we're seeing out on the road. And what's actually happening out on. So I'm going to start first with a few facts and figures. Okay, so this part, I'm going to read this because these are people that are studying this on a day-to-day basis. I can tell you what I'm seeing out on the road, but this is actually facts and figures and statistics that are out there. So before the pandemic, rents were rising faster in the regions than in capital cities. But when the pandemic hit in 2020, it supercharged this trend, sending capital city rents plummeting and regional rents skyrocketing. COVID has created a lifestyle shift, and people are using their homes differently. Okay. You might even be seeing it in the country that you're living in at the moment, where people don't have to be in the office every day, so they are moving to more regional areas. Now, we were seeing that in Australia, but definitely through COVID, we saw a lot more of that. In a sign of how widespread the nation's rental crisis has become, advertised house rents have hit record highs this year in 85% of suburbs. So that's across Australia. 85% of the suburbs have been hit by record highs. The figure is the highest in 2 decades. Okay. Vacancy rates in Sydney, Brisbane, Perth have hit record lows in August. And in Melbourne, the vacancy rate fell for an 8th consecutive month and is now 0.2% off its record low. So not only have 85% of suburbs increased in price, but the vacancy rates have decreased. To have 0.2% available is very worrying. There is very low stock out there. The big worry is that advertised rents are rising quickly, and that a lot of people are finding it more expensive, and it's going to get more expensive in the years to come. So here are some of the biggest hikes that there have been. The Gold Coast in Queensland has hiked 43%, Northeast Perth 37%, the Sunshine Coast 36%, Moreton Bay, North Queensland 33.3%. So these are worrying numbers. These are hikes in rental prices and low stock. Now, when we say low stock, like I said to you earlier, I've been doing this for 14 years. There's always been a low stock problem, but it's a lot worse now. Nationwide, the rents have jumped on an average of 20%. So wherever you might be moving to in Australia, expect that the rents are going to go higher and higher and higher. Okay. And as I'm saying just now, because when regional towns have always been growing and you can look at a map of Australia, you can see that most people live along the coast. It's a well-known fact. But people are starting to move inland now, and some of the regional towns have been growing. But now, since COVID, there's so many more people working from home. They're using their homes differently, but they're also not having to go into the office every day, so they are moving away from the city centres. So the 5 reasons why this is happening: Australians are renting for longer because they can't afford to buy. Okay, our interest rates are going up. Everybody's a little bit nervous at the moment to buy properties. The investment in housing has weakened and the confidence is low after the Australian biggest... So during COVID, there was a real lack of building supplies, so people stopped building homes, and a lot of the land building, home and land packages fell by the wayside. We had a lot of our biggest home builders go into liquidation during COVID. So that has also impacted the investment, or investors investing in new homes. And obviously investors put their homes out for rent, so that's giving us less rental stock. The overseas students and migrants are coming back to Australians. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing a lot of returning Australians coming back. So that's having a shift in the dynamic as well. And during COVID, and I definitely saw this at the start of COVID, or sort of in that part between us opening up and locking down and opening up and locking down, we saw a lot of Airbnb homes coming onto the rental market because there was no tourists here. So now that COVID is finished, those homes are going back onto Airbnb, again, depleting our rental stock. And one thing you might not realize is that Australia has a shortfall of 524,000 social housing. So we need a lot of social housing, and those people that can't get into social housing are now coming onto the rental market. So again, it's putting a stress onto the rental market, if you like. Just going to stop there for a second. If you've got any questions, I'm just going to see if there's any questions on here. I am pushing buttons, but I'm not seeing any questions at the moment, so I think we're okay. Let me just refresh that for me quickly. Okay. All right. So yes, it's not looking pretty out there, and a little bit about what's been happening this week, which prompted me to do this rather last minute webinar. So in Melbourne this week has definitely been a shortage. We are seeing much longer queue at open for inspections, easily 15 to 20 people at a minimum at each open inspection. For those of you that don't know how an open for inspection works, you have 15 minutes to inspect a house. And the estate agent will advertise when that house will be open. Anybody who's interested can go and have a look. So when you go to an open for inspection, you can see who your competition is for a house. So in Melbourne, definitely, I've seen a lot more people at the open for inspections. Sydney, my Sydney consultants, definitely shortage of properties. There is not a lot happening in Sydney. We've got clients who are, looking at properties. We're out there. We're having to expand some of the areas that we're looking into, obviously being mindful and careful of school zones and commute times for those clients, but huge shortage in Sydney. And also the agents are overwhelmed with applications. A lot of the applications, well, all applications these days are automated. So as anybody can apply for a property. An estate agent will only process an application if you have inspected the property. So you have to inspect the property. What I'm also noticing though, and talking to the Sydney consultant, we have a lot of very young, inexperienced real estate agents out there at the moment, and they get very overwhelmed. So when they're getting 20 to 30 applications, it's quite overwhelming for them, and they're taking a long time to process them. Now, when you take a long time to process an application, it has a knock-on effect, because you then choose an applicant, you go to that applicant, you say, well done, congratulations, you've been approved on the property. And they say, oh, no, I've already got something else. You took too long to come back to me. So the actual rental process is taking a long time. In Brisbane this week, we had an interesting situation. So we had a client who we had helped them to apply for 3 different homes. Obviously, they had first, second, and third preferences. Their first preference home. So let me backtrack a little bit. One of the things that you can do is offer a higher rent. Now, in most states across Australia, that suggestion cannot come from the estate agent. It has to be coming from, when you apply for a property, that is your offer. You're offering your rent, how long you're going to offer a lease for. So in this situation, our client said they absolutely love this house, they want to offer a little bit more. The estate agent, which often happens, is they'll at least phone us. Because we're a relocation company, the estate agents are more willing to discuss things with us. So the estate agent phoned and said, look, really like your client, but I've got an offer that's $30 more. So we spoke to the client. Anyway, it went backwards and forwards and eventually just got silly. And we said to the client, this house is not worth the price they're now asking for it. So we stepped away from the negotiations. Very often it can become just too competitive as far as I want it. No, I want it. It's like an auction. And nobody wants to get into that situation because you land up in a house that's not worth what you're paying for it. It just became something you want to win. So Brisbane, we are definitely seeing, and as I said in the stats earlier, there's been some big hikes in the rental price in Brisbane. So just be prepared for some of that. If you are planning your rental budget at the moment, be prepared that the prices are probably going to be going up in the next few months. And December and January is very tough. And a lot of people don't think about this. I literally had an email this week from somebody who said, what did she say? Oh, she emailed me and she said to me, I'm coming to Melbourne this week, hoping to secure a rental for January. Now, I don't want to go back and feel like I'm doing a hard sell and say to her, that's really not going to work. Okay, our rentals here move very quickly. The average is 18 days on the market. Okay, now considering you take a property off the market only once the rent's been paid, it's probably only going to be on the market for 2 weeks. If something is on the rental market for longer than 2 weeks, there's probably something wrong with it. Okay, so December and January can be particularly hard because locals are not moving. Nobody's really moving over Christmas and New Year. They're on holiday. And our school holidays here are very long. So school holidays here, the private schools break up in the first week of December, and they don't go back till after Australia Day, which is the 26th of January. So that's 2 months that the rental market just takes a complete dive. Now, that's usually my busiest time of the year because we're moving a lot of people for the start of the school year. So I'm particularly worried about those people that we're not helping over December and January. You don't have a credit history, don't have the relationship with the estate agents, but hopefully you've heard about this and you're listening out and know what to expect. You need to understand that things work differently here. Don't think that the way that you rent a house in England or South Africa or wherever else you're watching from, don't think that everything works the same there. It doesn't. Here it is very automated, and you must be on the right platform and on the right automation system to make sure that your application is approved. And as I say, your application will not be processed unless you have inspected or somebody has inspected the property for you. So get those things organized. Get the right advice on how to apply for rentals, how to work with the estate agents. Remember that they can't ask you to offer a higher price. So when you're putting in your rental application and you know that there's other competition, make sure that you've put it in at the best possible offer, but also think about things like your move-in date. If that house is empty now, no landlord wants an empty house. And think about the length of lease. You're not going to win over the competition if you only offer a 3 or a 6-month lease in Australia. Okay, know your rights, because like I said to you just now, there's a lot of inexperienced estate agents out there, a lot of people who sat at home during COVID and thought, oh, I'd like to be an estate agent, let me do my estate agent's license. So we've got a lot of inexperienced estate agents there. Understand that this is going to take time. So a little like the lady who said she's coming for a week to secure a property. One, you're not going to secure a property within a week. And two, trying to get a property now for rentals for a January start date is not going to work. So understand how things work here. And then the last advice I'd probably get is to check homes carefully, because there's such a shortage of rentals at the moment. There are some properties out there which I don't even think are safe to be habited at the moment. Check homes carefully. Do you know how many homes I go and inspect on behalf of clients? Now, when we inspect a home, we're inspecting with our head. We're not inspecting with our heart, as you might. And I go into an open inspection and there's other people in the room, and some of them would be working out where the sofa could go, the TV can go to here. Johnny's bed might fit in there, but we could put it in that bedroom. They're so busy working out all that nobody looks up at the ceiling and sees that there's a roof leak. Check the homes carefully. Okay, make sure, I know it's only 15 minutes and I know it's crazy in there and you've got other competition, but just try and be careful, try and be methodical. Okay. Let's just see if we've got any questions. I don't see any questions up there, which is very strange. Normally we get a lot of questions. All right. One question that I did get online was, let me just grab this question out of my inbox. Okay, this was a question which actually prompted me to write a blog about it, which was, when is the right time to move? When is the right time to start looking at rentals if you're moving December and January? So he's moving December, he wants to be here for the start of the school year. When should I arrive and when should I start looking? We're thinking of arriving on about the 9th of January, sorry. Okay. All right, so look, December and January, as I said earlier, is a bit of a different time to the rest of the year. Generally, I start working with my clients about 6 to 8 weeks prior to their arrival. One, to start getting your paperwork ready and get everything ready for your rental applications. But from 4 weeks, we need to start looking at properties. 4 to 5 weeks, we need to start looking at properties. Most homes here are advertised as available now, so you'll see that on the advert it says available now, and generally a house that's available now, you would be wanting to put a start date of about 2 weeks time onto that application. Estate agents, the process for the estate agents is obviously having them open for inspection, then processing the applications, shortlisting the applications and presenting to the landlords, and then offering the property to you. You've got 24 hours to make the rent and the bond payment, and then they need to go and do an entry report, and we need to get the gas, water and lights switched on. So that whole process can take up to 2 weeks. So if you're wondering how long you should book your Airbnb for, if you're coming here and you're booking an Airbnb to look for yourself, a minimum of 2 weeks. And in fact, if you're doing it on your own, I'd probably say you need 4 weeks. I would double it if you're trying to do it on your own, only because the first week when you're here, you're very jet lagged. You're trying to sort out your bank accounts. You're not sure what to do first. Driving license, shortlisting suburbs. You're driving around suburbs. The first week is a wipeout. The second week you start shortlisting homes. You're having a look at a few, and then realize that maybe your budget isn't aligned to the areas that you're looking in, so you tweak everything. So you might be lucky to find something at the end of 2 weeks and start applying then. So if you're doing this on your own, you really need a good length of an Airbnb. Otherwise, as I say, use our Inspect for You service, at least we're looking for a longer period of time for you before you arrive, so we can start looking six weeks before your arrival, and have you straight into a house. I hope that's answered that question. If anybody's got any other questions, I don't see any more on there, so I'm going to say thank you very much. I will post in the comments below a link for the freebie that we've got. So I don't want to really call it a freebie, but what it is a checklist, if you like, of what you need to do to be looking shortlisting homes, on how to shortlist your homes. There's many things that you can do online that you can look at. So say, for example, heating. You could be coming from a place where, Melbourne, for example, does need heating. You need heating in a home. In fact, it's the law to have at least one heater in the property. So we've put together this sort of checklist of how you can shortlist homes online, how you can check if there is heating, because the advert will say there's heating, but there might only be one heater and it's sitting in the living room, and you've got a 6-month-old baby who needs a warm bedroom, or at least heating in the bathroom, for example. So we've put together this checklist, if you like, on how to shortlist homes online. It'll save you a lot of driving around, so do download that. I'll put a link into the comments, and you are welcome to download that for listening to my voice, but I hope it's been helpful for you. I am here to try and help as many people as I can, and make sure that you have the right start in Australia. If you're not interested in the services, there's books, there's blogs, there's all sorts out there. Please just get the right expert advice and know what's going to be lying ahead of you. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all a very happy Saturday. Cheerio.